Hello, this is Bob from Love Beyond the Sea. Salamat po for checking into this video called How to Have a Successful Filipina Relationship. The flip side of the coin could be called How to Avoid Having Your Filipina Leave You. Now I know since you're here, you have some interest in relationship with a Filipina, and so I want to provide help from my 2.5 years experience being married to a Filipina that would help you in yours. You know, it's not a perfect relationship, no relationship is, so I'll be sharing sometimes things that I do wrong because you know, it happens, and then show you how to bounce back from something like that. So as far as this topic goes, please watch till the end, because I am going to talk about the intimate side of the relationship, because if you're going to have a lasting relationship with a Filipina, that's an important element of it. So I will get to that, just not right away. So some of the things that I want you to know, and this is going to be a little bit longer video since I'm actually using a camcorder and can talk more. Be serious about marriage and communication with your Filipina. You're probably going to be doing this online. So come across as being someone who is there for a purpose, to get married. You know, you may be communicating with 4 or 5 women at the same time. The woman there probably understands that, and also probably would prefer that you not. She wants you to be somebody that's serious about her. So you kind of have to meet in the middle there because it is 2 different cultures and they go about dating differently. But what I want to point out is, if you're serious about marriage, you can find somebody else there that is serious about marriage. So before you even get married, you set the tone for marriage with a Filipina by being serious. And that comes out in your comments about things like commitment. Commitment, that's a serious topic. Tell her you want somebody to be married to forever and that you're going to give yourself to them for the rest of your life. Talk about sacrifice. Talk about how you will give up your own pursuits to some degree to help give them a better life. Doesn't have to be big, life-altering, you know, sacrifices, but you're telling them that you're more important than I am. I'm looking for somebody to give myself to, because that's what really helps have a lasting relationship. Because that's Christ-like love. Christ was a giver, not so much a taker. He was consumed with giving, and that's the way a husband should be with his wife. He should be concerned about giving to her. You talk to her about protecting her. You talk to her about providing for her. How? Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You can provide for your Filipina with opportunities. Like when my wife came here and I was able to find her a job, her life has changed dramatically just by working, and the good that she can do with that money, and she's helping us out too. And that's just an opportunity, and other opportunities may spring from that. So we'll see, but I'm here to provide for her. Now, the right Filipina is serious about marriage, so if you come off right away as being somebody serious about marriage, I'd say there's a good chance that the scammer Filipina will just move on to somebody else. Just a hunch. Obviously, don't send money to somebody unless you are really committed to them. Now, I had sent my wife about $4,000 before I met her. We got engaged quickly, 18 days, and then I did everything I could to get out there as fast as possible. I had to send her money because we had to get married while we were there, and we wanted a somewhat big wedding, so there's a lot of details, a lot of things that go in with that. And so I sent her some money for that. I was staying there for about a month. That's an expense, although she did get me a nice inexpensive place nearby called a condo. And gifts for the family. You don't have to do that, but I wanted to. But I sent her this money because we had already become engaged, and I bought a ring, went to the Philippines, and I met her, and everything worked out well. She sent me receipts of what the money was for, always kept me informed, and you know, that she earned my trust with the way she handled that money, and I've continued to allow her to do more things financially and independently because she's proven to me that she can do that. Another thing is be as supportive as you can reasonably for her family. This will be mostly mama and papa, not the whole family as you may commonly hear. She really wants to take care of her parents first and foremost. Now, you can also help them to make money for themselves by buying them, let's say, or helping them with a scooter or a sidecar. That's something that can help. Now, if your wife is working, she's going to have money to help herself. And don't assume that she's going to want to send every last penny back there, because she's going to realize over here in America, you got to be on time, you have to be reliable, and you work a lot of hours. And by that experience, she might want to hold on to some of it for herself or for you, because it's a different working experience over here to some degree. So help her in ways that can help her earn income. If you have children, then before or after you marry her, make sure that you're clear that your family comes first. And I think there's a good chance she's already going to agree with you on that, and you're not going to be fighting with her so that she wants to send all the extra money home to her family rather than keep it for yours. I don't think that's going to be an issue, but again, just to be sure, that's something that you should talk about before you get married. Now, another good thing, when you're in her presence, speak well of her, and when you're not in her presence, speak well of her. It's important that she can just take for granted that you appreciate her, that you notice the things that she does well, and you remember that by just repeating it to her. Thank you, honey, for this. I appreciate that you did that. You helped me so much doing this. Tell her that. Tell other people how important she is to you. That will get around to her, and then everybody will know that you're deeply in love with this woman, and I think that just can only help deepen her commitment. When you talk to her, your words should build up, not tear down. If you blow it, like I did a few days ago, apologize profusely. Here's what I did. She was trimming my beard, and I had some things on my mind. I was kind of perturbed, and the cut didn't go as well as either one of us would have liked, and I overreacted. I was pounding my fist on the countertop in the bathroom. I was raising my voice. I was probably standing up and acting like a lunatic, saying things I shouldn't have said. I didn't attack her personally, but it doesn't matter. The whole tone of voice and the anger was really bad language. It was just a bad experience, and I wish I could take it back. I kept telling her, you need to put the hair back. You cut off too much. Why did you do that? You can't put it back. You can't put it back. And the things that I did with the words I used were the same way. I couldn't take my words back any more than she could put hair back. Once it's done, it's done, and then you suffer the consequences. So, yeah, that's going to make me more careful in the future. And we've talked about that. I don't like doing things like that. For some reason, I got set off, and it didn't work out very well. So I have to be apologetic. She's handled it very forgivingly, and we always have to forgive each other, and that's just an example there of how not to talk to your wife. As much as possible, give others the impression that she is the most important person in your life, that she is your top priority. So, tell her that she's number one in your life, and then back that up. Don't live with her like you're still single. Sometimes that happens in marriage. People get married and they get the prize and they go right back to other things. In my case, she was the prize, so I don't really want to do anything that's not involved with her in some way. Most of my single friends, if not all of them, were gone because they got married, so I was pretty alone when I met her. Probably 100% of my social life is spent with my wife. Probably 98% of her social life is spent with me. Maybe that will change one day. Maybe it doesn't have to. She does have other friends. Maybe it's not as high as 98. But we do spend a lot of time together. And so I don't feel like I'm living like I'm single. My priorities change, and she's the priority. So I'm very happy to invest myself in her life. So encourage, even though you have individual lives, try to include her in your life and you in her life too. You can find healthy relationships for your Filipina. You don't have to wait till she's here in your country before you do that. I asked my pastor before I met my wife, right after I got back from the Philippines, knowing I had about 7-8 months before I saw her, if he knew any Filipinas, if he knew anybody married to a Filipina that would be a good influence for my wife. And he thought about it. He came up with a name, gave me the name, number, email, I don't know. I contacted him, told him what I was wanting, somebody that would be a good influence on my wife. We met, we've become friends. They've had us over a lot. We've had them over a couple times. And that was an answer to prayer. That will help keep you together, that you find, good, companionship for her, healthy relationships. Another thing, don't make all her decisions for her. And yes, we will talk about the intimacy coming up here, so don't go away. But don't make all her decisions for her. When she gets to your country, she'll largely be a fish out of water. She's going to have to rely on you. Just keep in mind, you don't want that to last too long. You always want to slowly be relinquishing some of that role to her so that she learns how to make good decisions for herself. Now, in our case, my wife was driving, and she thought that when she learned how to drive, that she could use a car of her own. Well, at the time, we had the same work shift, same hours. That changed through no fault of our own. So it became apparent over time that she was right. She really could use a car. It would help me out. It would help her out. It would help both of us out. So we set out to buy a car. She didn't seem to care if it was a newer car or an older car. I wanted it to be a good car and a safe car, number one. And then I started thinking about it and thought, well, hon, I'd almost rather you have a new car because it's going to last longer, it's going to be safer. I feel like I'm protecting her more that way. And so she decided she would pay for the car herself. She's been working for a year and a half, full-time, permanent for about half a year. And I think she'll stay there, Lord willing. She's been doing really well, so she wants to pay for the car herself. And so far, she has. And so I let her pick out the car. I just insisted on safety features, but I let her have that choice. And also with the warranty, that was important. I didn't think we needed it. She wanted it. She's going to pay for it. I want to teach her to make the right decisions. And so she changed her mind several times, but we decided, hon, it's your car. I want you to feel comfortable with it. Don't second guess yourself. Don't listen to other people that tell you made a bad decision. If you want this, just understand what's covered, and I will support you 100%. And I think that's going to be good for us. She's got a Discover card now because she's good with money, and she's using that. We pretty much charge everything now to that, only so she can get some bonus points, which we can use for flights, maybe someday. It helps a little bit, and that's good. I think that was a good decision on her part. Show your wife the malls. She's probably used to the malls, and they got a lot of them out there. I don't know how, but they do. And so she's used to being there, looking at some good clothes, and she'll want some nice clothes, a purse, some shoes, something like that. And there are certain name brands that stand out in the Philippines. They think everything is fake, more or less. In China and other places, maybe they're right. But she'll want some nice things. She's probably not going to go overboard, but help buy her some things before she's working on her own. And, so she looks nice. So she can look like her peers, although my wife dresses better than her peers. She doesn't spend a lot of money. Places like Forever 21, for example, doesn't cost a lot to look good, if she's a younger woman. Also, give her all the time she needs with homesickness. My experience with my wife may be 9 months of that, and maybe there's still always going to be a little bit there for a while, but I think she's past the worst of it. I thought she was doing better than she was, but she'd admit she'd see me coming home. She would be crying. She was homesick, and then she stopped crying, made herself look good, give me a hug and a kiss, and I didn't know that she was struggling like that. So be patient with her. It's a big move on her part. She's sacrificing a lot, and she probably will get over the homesickness eventually. You can encourage hobbies for her. Going to church. Certainly working is a good thing if you can find her a good job. It's not going to be a back-breaking job or hours that totally conflict with yours. That can help with the homesickness. Another point here is to defer to her whenever you can. Part of responsibility too, but you don't want to be one that's controlling. And that's a video idea that I've already made. I just haven't released it yet. You don't want to be controlling. You want to defer to her. The basketball tickets example, I had tickets for 23 years. I wanted to have them until I retired to go to all the games. Well, I gave those up so we could have time to travel or money to travel in the United States, since she wants to see different places. And well, I didn't want to be selfish, and I thought, okay, I'm going to give this up for her. I'll defer to her happiness, and I've thoroughly enjoyed going to the places that we have. So I think that's going to be a good decision. Also, I've had plenty of time in my life, I'm 56, to do my own thing. Now that I'm married, priorities shift, and my thing is now my wife. Another point here, you are her head authority, but part of leadership involves her frame of mind, her happiness, her sense of well-being. So the way you talk to her, the things you do and say, should be health-giving, and know that you love her and care for her very much. No sense in having an unhappy wife. So if you're not spending as much time with her as she wants, make that kind of change or any other change so she can be happy with you. So let her work when she feels okay. Don't rush her into this, because she might need to lick her wounds a little bit with homesickness before she wants to work. She'll probably want to eventually. The best time is when she says, I'm ready. Then go help her try to find a job. We use a temporary agency. She might need help with a resume or putting in the names of people they can contact. We use some people in the Philippines, and my pastor and a friend she had here in the United States. I can't remember what the term is, so I'm sure you know what it is. Let her nest. She's in new surroundings. She's left her surrounding, and then so let her develop the house, her apartment the way she wants, rearrange things, maybe buy some things that she thinks would be improvements. Just give her control of that. I would recommend that would help you to have a lasting relationship with her. Sometimes it's just little things like that. Allow her to pick some clothes for you. She doesn't have to completely redo your wardrobe, but if she thinks that you would look nice with this shirt or that pants or these shoes, I would let her do that. She probably has better taste than you do. And for a Filipina, and maybe other women, it's just a reflection of her, how her man looks. So if you look kind of, like you don't care about, your appearance, the clothes you wear, she's going to think that's a reflection of her. She's going to think that people are thinking that she can't take care of her husband, that she can't dress her husband. So give her the satisfaction of picking out some things for you, some clothes, and treat her as a mature woman. Respect her. She's come from probably a much harder life than you've had, and if she's sane, then she's doing well. So respect her for what she's been through, and be a spiritual leader. Read the Bible to her, explain the Bible to her. Ask her if she understood what the pastor said. Take her to church. Pray with her. Pray for her when you're not with her. And my wife enjoys that. And since I think about her all the time, it's only natural that I pray for her. And there are times when I want to pray with her, not just pray for her. Be faithful. No other women is what my wife's father told me at the wedding. I don't know if it was part of the wedding or it was in the ceremony where Mama and Papa take a microphone, they come up, and they say their words. It wasn't in English, so I couldn't tell. But I was told he said, no other women. Those were his last words to me. So I told him no problem with that, and I don't expect to make him unhappy. So always remember, you should earn the respect of your wife. I've got the 3-part series. It's filled with a bunch of little ideas like this. Don't be involved with pornography. She'll feel like she's invisible, or she's not doing the job for you, she's not pleasing you. Try not to stare at other women. You probably have the most beautiful woman then, if you marry a Filipina, of anybody you know. So there's really no need to stare, because I love my wife. She's very attractive to me. I want her to wear things that look attractive to me. So I don't look at anybody else. I don't want to even be tempted to look at anybody else. And why should I? I'm married to a beautiful Filipina. Don't talk fondly of other women. For whatever reason you might do this, or don't try to compare her with somebody else if things aren't going right. She is your woman. She's the one God gave you. The two of you have to work things out. And finally, you want a younger, beautiful Filipina for romantic fulfillment. Well, here are my thoughts on that. Actually, it looks like we're going to run out of time here, so we might have... No, I'm just kidding about that. Let's talk about intimacy here to round this off. So I think your Filipina will take care of you, but you need to do the same. As in everything in marriage, put your wife first. You'll get pleasure from her. Just make sure that she gets it from you, and that she gets it whenever she wants it. Make sure she's pleased. That should be very important. Be grateful to her. Thank her for her lovemaking. And the Bible says in 1 Corinthians 7, stop depriving yourselves. That means stop withholding sex from each other. It says that we are to, this is positive now, to render the due benevolence, which is literally the debt. It's talking about the sexual relationship. It is debt. We are to stop depriving one another, and we are to render what we owe the other person. So as a man, your perspective is, I owe my wife sexual satisfaction. And that's the way God has designed it. And she is to satisfy you. Proverbs 5:18 says, let her breasts satisfy thee at all times, and be thou always ravished with her love, which is love making, to become drunk with her love making. Sex is God's idea, and it's it's a big part of marriage. I had somebody tell me once, well, sex is just one part of marriage. It's a small part of marriage. And here's why I disagree. Lots of parts to marriage. Taking out the garbage, washing the dishes, what kind of paper towels you're going to buy, who's going to be doing the vacuuming, and so on. And those are parts of marriage, but they're not as important as sex. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that's a huge part of a good marriage. Now, take care of your physical health as much as you can, as far as things like Levitra, Cialis, Viagra. Talk to your doctor about that. It's one thing to be married to somebody that's, let's say you're both in your 50s or you're both in your 60s, and the woman, doesn't really want her husband to be taking those things because she's just not as interested in sex anymore. You're married to a younger woman, her 20s or 30s, for example. Yeah, she's going to be interested, and if that's something you need, if that's something that can help you, talk to your doctor about that. I think it's Viagra.com. I looked this up. They have a kind of like a card. It's a printout where if your doctor has given you a prescription of that, you go to that website, Viagra.com, print it out, and then you get 50% off on your prescriptions throughout the year. It says that it'll be good through December of 2018. So, check into that, check with your doctor, check with the pharmacist, if you need that. Also, it's fair to mention here that testosterone levels in men have been going down. You can read that up on yourself, whether it's environmental, things, plastics, soy, stress, whatever it is. The average man's testosterone level is decreasing. And that can affect everything. Sex, the desire for sex, everything. So, if you talk to your doctor again, if you feel that that's something that needs to be addressed, he can do some testing for you, or he can show you, a better person to go to. But that's just the physical side. the emotional side is so much. It's so important too. Even if you're too tired, try to please her. Talk about what time maybe is best for you, so that you're not feeling like you're irritable at that time. As in anything, communication here is so important. So, a good sex life is indicative of a good marriage. And if there's trouble in the bedroom, there's probably trouble outside of the bedroom. And if everything's going well in the bedroom, that's probably a sign of a healthy marriage. That's another thing I heard that I tend to agree in. Hebrews 13:4 says, marriage is honorable in all, and the bed, which is the word coitus, is undefiled. Sex is God's idea as marriage is, and he wants two people to be committed to each other only and to please each other. And so, as with any marriage, that is important. And I believe all of these things I've talked about have been important, and just things that I've learned and hopefully will continue to learn as I want to have my marriage last as long as I live, and I know you too. So thanks again for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't. I'd certainly like to help more people to have a lasting relationship with their love beyond the sea.